Dankie Nadia vir die sangdiens. Dit was baie mooi. Ons geniet dit. Ja, en David ook. Die piano. Goed. Goeiemôre Sabbatskool en welkom in die huis van die Here. Maar ek wil vir u iets sê, ons dorpie is vuil. Dit is vol rommel en die riool loop in die strate af van die werkers staak. En grootskaalse geweld en diefstal vind ook plaas, maar vanoggend vind ons veiligheid in die huis van die Here. Ek hoop u ondervind dit so. Ons sal open met lied 124, Ek moet Jesus aan my sy hê. Onse Vader wat in die hemel is, baie dankie dat ons bevoorreg is om vanoggend weer in u huis u te kan dien. Here, ons is swak en hulpeloos en ons vra dat u ons deur hierdie week wat sal kom, sal dra. Vergewe al ons sondes en ons vra dit nie om ons verdien nie, maar alleen uit genade. Amen. U kan maar sit. Daar was geen verjaarsdag waarvan ek weet of huweliksherdenkinge nie. Is daar ietsie wat ek moet weet van iemand wat verjaar het, wat ek dalk gemis het? Iemand nie. Ons kan die sendingverhaal kyk asseblief, baie dankie.
By giving something up for 1 week, what would you give up? Some 100 years ago, in 1922, Seventh-day Adventists did exactly that. The money used to support missionaries was running out. When the church was nearly forced to call its missionaries home, Adventists stepped up. They accepted the challenge of the mission offering. They gave up something for mission. Children gave their piggy bank savings. Adults gave a week's wages. By giving something up, they kept the missionaries in the field. By giving something up, they kept the church's mission program on track. The annual sacrifice offering helps Global Mission start new groups of believers among unreached people, often in the most challenging places in the world. So challenging, in fact, that Global Mission identifies some of these places only as veiled cities or veiled countries. We do not publicly name these places. Today, there are still more than 7,000 unreached people groups, with a total of more than 3 billion people. Jesus told the parable of the lost sheep. When one sheep was missing, the shepherd went out to search for it. We are told that when Jesus looked at the crowds, he looked at them with compassion because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Today, he still looks at the crowds with compassion. How about us? Can we look out with the same compassion? So what would you give up? That snack from the vending machine, that drink you love, a pizza, those new shoes, that new game, your favorite candy bar, that new toy, that slice of cake, hot chocolate or cold chocolate, those in-app purchases, that nearly irresistible deal of the day. Now, here's the challenge. Let's actually do it. Give up one thing for 1 week. Challenge your friends and family, and give the money to the annual sacrifice offering. You can give online or in church. Simply mark your tithe envelope, Annual Sacrifice Offering.
Kan ek asseblief, Freddy, ek en jy is aan diens vandag, maar ek kan nou nie offergawe neem nie. Freddy, sal jy en Alet opneem asseblief? Kom ons sluit die oë. Baie dankie Here dat ons nog kan ontvang sodat ons kan gee. Here, gebruik hierdie geld tot die uitbreiding van u woord en ons vra dat u met elkeen sal wees wat u sending werk doen. Amen. Soos ons weet, het hierdie afgelope ruk was die nuus van 'n Suid-Afrikaanse dokter wat oorsee na Nieu-Seeland verhuis het en haar 3 kinders vermoor het. Baie van ons verstaan nie hoekom dit gebeur. Hulle was tog 'n gelukkige gesin. Hulle wou die kinders gehad het en het ook gesukkel om hulle te kry. En nou, waar hulle 'n nuwe lewe begin, vol toekomsplanne en drome, het dinge vreeslik verkeerd geloop. En nou is daar net hartseer, verwyd en pyn. Ek wil die volgende vraag aan u elkeen vra en u kan maar daaroor dink. Watter resies hardloop jy en ek vandag? Is dit ouerskap, ons huwelik, of ons lewe? Hoe hardloop jy en ek hierdie resies? Sprint ons? Hardloop ons teen 'n reëlmatige pas? Of dalk met 'n gestruikel of 'n gekruip ploeter ons voort? In Hebreërs 12 vers 1-3 lees ons van die wedren wat die Christen hardloop. En ek gaan vir u uit die boodskap uitlees. Die lewe is soos 'n wedloop. Op die paviljoen het ons 'n skare mense wat voor ons met geloof en vertroue in God geleef het. Hulle moedig ons aan om gelowig te hou met die wedloop. Laat ons dan ontslae raak van enigiets wat ons hinder om die wedloop van die lewe behoorlik te hardloop. Dit is veral die sonde wat ons gedurig wil potjie. Laat ons dan, soos ander gelowiges, hardloop met alles wat ons het. Laat ons die wedloop hardloop deur op Jesus te konsentreer. Hy het vir ons gewys wat dit beteken om op God te vertrou en hy sal ons tot aan die einde daarmee help. En ons moet dit glo. Dink aan sy voorbeeld. Die skande en die vernedering van die kruis was nie vir hom te veel nie. Hy het dit alles verdra, omdat hy geweet het, dat daar soveel blydskap daarna vir hom wag. Kyk nou net, nou sit hy op die ereplek langs God. Hoe hou hom gedurig in gedagte? Dink aan alles wat hy moes deurgemaak het. Ja, aan al die slegte dinge wat die sondige mense aan hom gedoen het. As julle sy voorbeeld volg, sal julle nooit moedeloos word en tou opgooi nie. Vandag se stukkie wat ek aan julle wil voordra is deur 'n moeder geskryf wat 4 kinders het. En ek is seker dat elkeen van u wat hierso sit, daarmee kan van eerselwag, al is jy nou 'n ouer, 'n oupa en 'n ouma, en selfs 'n oom of 'n tannie in die familie. Dit kom uit you laugh about it someday. En dit is nogal komies op 'n stadium, maar daar's 'n goeie les vir ons daar uit te leer. Die stukkie is genaamd Maraton, of Maraton. Die marathon wat ons hardloop. Getting hit in the eyeball with a whipping rope was what finally sent me over the edge. It had been one of those days. I woke up to find both babies crying and came to find them both soaked to the skin in their own pee. My husband and I had a stupid argument before he left. One twin ate a handful of dirt from the gardenia plant while I cooked breakfast. The other one wouldn't stop crying unless I held her, so I cooked with one hand. I've really become very good with that. En ek seker ons ma's wat nou kleintjies het, weet presies waarvan ek praat. We left the next day's fireworks out on the table for some awful reason, and my 6-year-old asked approximately 45 times during the breakfast if we could go outside right now, and light off this one, or that one, or what about this specific one? I yelled at the neighbor's kid, whose face was shamelessly smashed against our front window. For 10 minutes did he stand there, only to discover that his mom had heard me from the driveway. The she twin spit the cereal onto my new purple silk robe that I have saved for so long. And it was the first time that I wore it this day. He twin stealth pooped all the way up his back. And of course, I didn't discover it until it rubbed against, guess, my purple silk robe. Finally, I had gotten the poop cleaned cleaned up, and breakfast put away to a point where I could feed the second baby. The 6-year-old had decided to play cowboys, singing the same one line of the worst song on earth over and over and over. From somewhere upstairs, I could hear my 3-year-old yelling, "Come wipe my bottom! Mommy, come wipe my bottom!" The first baby clawed my leg for attention, while the second refused to open her locked jaw. And the 6-year-old asked whether we could light just one firework again. And then right at that moment, pow! The end of the cowboy's rope slashed me directly in my eyeball. Burning, blazing, stinging, and I lost it. I lost all my mind. First I screamed, lots of angry words, loudly, which made the babies both immediately started sobbing. Then I grabbed the prized rope and threw it in the trash. Then the 6-year-old began wailing. The 3-year-old saddling on the toilet was now crying from upstairs. And I figured since everyone else was crying, what the heck, I might as well join them. En ek seker ons ouers het al so gevoel. We all cried for what seemed like quite a while, my children and I. They were scared and sad and wounded by my outburst, but me, I was defeated. I began to spiral down into the dark dungeon of mommyhood, where you wonder why you ever had kids to begin with. How you can possibly face another moment of this misery. And what would happen if you just stood up and walked out the door and never came back? I am told that a lot of mommies had these thoughts, but that didn't make it better at the moment. Parenting young children has often been compared to running a marathon, and rightly so. A marathon is about training, pacing, fitness, endurance, determination, pain, suffering, misery, and victory. My communication teacher at college, Chris Blake, once told a story about a marathon he saw on TV that I think of often as a parent. En ons het al baie in die verlede die Comrades dopgehou. Long after all the other runners had crossed the finish line, the TV cameras were following one unfortunately large woman who was about 2 full hours behind the crowd. And it was no wonder why. She wasn't running. She was all but hobbling with the poise of a walrus on land. It took a monumental energy just to lift 1 foot at a time. A paper cup came casually blowing past on the street, was making faster progress than she. Not only would she certainly be the last to finish, but it was doubtful whether she would even finish at all, at the rate she was going. This was the fat lady. But Mr. Blake noticed something that riveted him to the poor plodder. With each leaden step the woman took, she was muttering something to herself. after a minute, he realized that she was saying the exact same thing every time she smacked the pavement. Fascinated, he kept watching in hopes that the camera would zoom in close enough to read her lips and clarify what she was saying. And they did. Every time the woman lifted her right leg, she pointedly mouthed, "Oh God." And every time she lifted her left foot, she finished, "I can." Oh God, I can. Oh God, I can. And so she went on, all the way to the finish line. In the marathon of motherhood, this mantra really works for me. When the daily grind is grinding me just a little bit too fine, I take a second to catch my breath and whisper, "Oh God, I can." When each and every leaden step of the day anchors me in discouragement and self-doubt, I find myself, "Oh God, I can." When loneliness and exhaustion stalk me like shadows, a simple, "Oh God, I can," is enough to take another step. Sometimes it's a pep talk. Other days it's a plea for help. And often, I don't even believe it initially, but the repetition has a way of rooting itself. Later, during a quiet moment, kidding, I don't have any of those anymore. Actually, it was while I was showering to what I call the argument of the soundtrack at the back. I was reflecting on the rope incident and the marathon woman. And I thought somehow though of Jesus in Gethsemane, mud under his fingernails, clawing the ground in abject anguish. And he said, "Oh God, I can't." And he faints. Blood speckles to the dust. An angel is sent to renew his strength. Then he whispered, "Oh God, I can." And then, "Oh God, I will." The beam's crushing weight, the nails piercing agony, "Oh God, I can." Calvary was his finish line, and he crossed it for me. That marathon woman crossed the finish line too, believe it or not, 4 hours after everyone else, but she finished. And as she finally stepped over that blessed line, she was still repeating, now cheering victoriously, "Oh God, I can." My finish line that day was bedtime, but since it was a long time until the holy hour, there were a lot of things that I realized I could do. I apologized to my children for losing my temper. En ouers moet nie skaam wees om dit te doen nie. I sent an apology note to the mother of the annoying kid I yelled at. The prize robe came out of the trash. One firework was selected and lit off. And for myself, I took a nap on the floor while one baby beat me over the head with a stuffed animal the entire time. And yes, I did sleep. My other finish line is heaven. Since I'm hoping my children will cross it with me, I'm training today with them in mind. give up priceless hours of sleep to pray and beg for patience and wisdom? Oh God, I can. Model forgiveness when it's hard. Endure a day of tasks I hate. Make time for moments of wonder. Oh God, I can. Lavish grace as often as possible, just as grace has been lavished on me. Oh God, with your help, I can. My laaste vraag aan u is, waar is, o God, ek kan in my lewe? Kom ons sing af deur lied 224 saam te sing. Ek kan oral veilig saam met Jesus gaan. Heer Jesus, help ons om nooit moedeloos te voel, maar te weet dat U altyd met ons sal wees, elke tree wat ons in hierdie wedstryd hardloop, om eendag aan U sy te wees. Help ons, dat ons ook kan sing, ek kan oral veilig saam met Jesus gaan. Vergewe ons sondes, asseblief, en help ons om die maraton op aarde te voltooi, sodat ons eendag die oorwinningslied kan sing.